We're gonna get and have a regular meeting. We're gonna head and do the invocation followed by the pledge of allegiance.
Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we are so grateful for this day, and we bless your name today. We thank you that this is the day that you have made, and we will rejoice and be glad in it. I pray for our council this morning, Father God, and I just ask that you give them wisdom and knowledge to make the best decisions they can for the city of Mexico Beach. Lord, I pray for our nation today. I pray for our president. I pray for guidance, Father, and leadership in Jesus' name. And today I ask you, Father, that you just watch over our families. We thank you for our homes. We thank you for the many, many blessings that you've given us. And always may the words of our mouth and the meditation of our heart always be acceptable to you. In Jesus' name, amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Take a roll when you're ready, Tam, please.
Ms. Logan?
Here.
Mr. Cox?
Here.
Mr. Fasagi?
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton?
Here.
Mayor Wolf?
Here. All right, there's a consent agenda for minutes for the 26th, May 26th. Have they been reviewed? Any questions or changes? If not, are they accepted?
Accepted.
Okay. Minutes are good. We're gonna go to the regular agenda. We have a long one here today, so those of you here to do comments, hang in there and we'll get to it eventually. First thing on the agenda is boat ramps, expansion, repairs, Mr. Mel.
Thanks, Your Honor. Back in May, we opened the bids for the boat ramp repair and expansion project. We had 4 bidders. The lowest bidder was H.G. Harderson & Son at $1,790,075. That was the lowest bid, and after review by our consulting engineers, it was determined that on their review, they did all the math and all the stuff to make sure the bottom lines were correct, and they were. So recommendation to the city council would be to approve the bid to H.G. Harder. But I will say one thing about the financial part of it. I did not include that in the abstract, so I apologize. But the project is in part due because we got a grant through FWC with their Florida Boaters Program. They will provide $986,831. The city's portion is $93,470 for a total of $1,080,000 or $80,301. The city repair portion of this project is $800,000, which is in our budget, for a total of $1,880,301. And so that does exceed what this bid price is. So based upon that, I think it's an easy decision.
Thank you for that information. We had no open to the public. Any comments on boat ramp expansion? Any questions or anything from the public? None from the public. We haven't closed the public. Open discussion at the table. I'll go ahead and start, I guess. The only question, I mean, obviously when you start going through there was a page that went through all the vendors, and this is more of a compliment to our engineering group. You always worry about when you get into projects, the overcharges that you get or the surprises that you get during those projects. So when we get an opportunity to look at, you have that page, Kevin, pull it up if you have.
I don't.
Okay, that's all right. This is just a bid breakdown of all the vendors and the jobs that they were gonna do. I went through it myself and I said, geez, I said, the last one on there is called Edgeguard. And there were a total of 4 vendors, and 2 of the vendors are about $14,000, as you see, and the other vendor is about 17. Then there's one vendor in there at 2,700. I'm going, there's gotta be a problem there, you know? So, lo and behold, I started to look into it and made some phone calls, and checked some things out, and they had already caught it, had an answer, and went through it with me, and made sense, and I think that's a compliment to our engineering group for taking the project, laying it out, what has to be done, getting the prices put together, and then reviewing the prices again. So, trying to stay away from that increase in cost as job changes and cost changes as we get through it, so kudos to them. Any other comments? Do you have a motion to approve it, if not aye?
I'll make a motion to award the boat ramp repairs and expansion project to H.G. Harders and Son.
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second. Tammy, take the roll, please.
Ms. Logan?
Yes.
Mr. Cox?
Yes.
Mr. Kisaki?
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton?
Yes.
Mayor Wolf?
Yes. When will it be done?
At this point, we're waiting for the revised permit from the Army Corps, because we had to make some adjustments in the design, as you know. That's probably gonna take the next couple of months, but quite frankly, we really wouldn't want to start this project till after our fishing tournament season, which is late June, late July. So that'll work out pretty slick. We'll get a pre-construction meeting set, you know, at the appropriate time and hash out all the details.
Okay. Number 2 on the agenda is strategy planning bids. Mr. Mel?
Yes, sir. We received 9 potential qualified businesses to want to do our strategic planning process. We had created a structured approach that includes defining clear criteria, forming an evaluation committee, and ensuring fairness and transparency throughout the process. That evaluation committee, of course, is the 5 members of the city council. When we went through the criteria was set forth. There was a total of 100 points. We had four questions. One was qualifications, where you demonstrate your experience, also working with elected officials and the quality of the past projects. And section B was the project team and capacity, about, again, qualification, experience, and clear roles, and demonstrated ability to manage complex processes. Section C was the project understanding and methodology, where you demonstrate an understanding of the city's objectives, clarity and feasibility of the proposed approach, and of course the work plan and schedule at 15 points, which was the clarity and feasibility of the work plan and the timeline, and the alignment with the city's desired schedule and deliverables. So when we looked at the results of the 5 evaluators, we came across one evaluator who had 1 firm at 0, 2 firms at 4, and 3 firms at 20. I'm sorry, 4 firms at 20. Each of the 9 firms were qualified firms. So in my opinion, no firm deserved a 0 or even a 4. But nonetheless, the past process we followed was simply adding up the points. When we add up the points, North Florida Professional Services was far and away the winner at 443 points. If you look at the average at 88.6, they still are the number 1 firm. If you look at the median, which is the center score, at 94, again, they are, of course, number 1. But that still didn't set a good pace for the outlier and their scores. So we thought we would look at an alternative way to look at this, and so we thought, well, if we took at each of the scores from the 5 and throw out the high and low, how does it come out? So that was the second section where, once again, North Florida won at 280 points. Their average of 93.3 was the highest, as well as a median at 94 again. So North Florida, of course, is the number one. One of the methods of taking care of any outlier when it comes to a big discrepancy, deviating from the average and the norm, another way to do it is simply take out the outliers' scores completely. If we do that, Kimley Horn is the winner of 362 points. The average is 90.5, but North Florida, once again, gets the median at 96. So we'll get to later how to maybe fix this potential problem. But nonetheless, in my abstract that I provided to the council and the public, I have suggested that we redo the evaluation, but I'm not sure that's going to get any different results. So I would recommend to the council, after their discussion and public input, to go ahead and issue North Florida professional services.
Thank you. All right, good, and open to the public. Any comment on the public on the planning bids and the information you just received from Mr. Mel? Any comments from the public? And close the public and open it to the table.
I think, Mel, if you said the high and the low, and if you eliminated the high and the low and it still came out with North Florida professional services, I think that still is a result of the majority of what the city council wants. And I think we should just keep it the way it is and not recalculate or rescore the whole thing.
And once you look at all these standard deviations, formulas, and ratios, you can go crazy and do different kind of formulas to get different results. Because whatever you say, there's lies, darn lies, and statistics.
There you go. Okay.
Mel, my input would be that I'm agreeable with whatever the council as a whole wants to do. If the council wants to rescore, I'll rescore, but I would stay sort of supporting Ms. Hamilton. I think the numbers sort of indicate North Florida overall won. Statistically, however you want to make the numbers look is a function of statistics. So I would be very comfortable in this standing pat and going with North Florida.
I did my own research. I think the scores for evaluation number 4 are profoundly unserious. I mean a 0, 2 4s. I mean, that's just, these companies clearly deserve better scores than that. If you don't agree with their approach, if you agree they're too big, if you don't like them being in state or out of state, the company that received a 0 was scored by the rest of the council in the 80s and 90s. So I looked at these lies, damn lies, and statistics myself last night. My numbers were slightly different than what's up on the screen, but they're consistent. I took a different approach that if we just line out evaluation number 4, what are and we just considered the 4 entries, what do those results come to? And North Florida finishes second in the total score, and Kimley Horn finishes first. So, I mean, that simply means that they swap the values. You're number 1 if you take all 5 evaluations, and you're number 2 if you just line out the entry that's clearly biased. So I think we can do better as a council than this. But I'm also not here to poke anybody in the eye, and I'm also not profoundly biased towards any one of these companies. I rated both number 1 and number 2 of the entries. Depending on how you look at it, I rated them both highly. So I'm also willing to go with a council consensus.
Any other comment?
Well, I'll make a comment. Clearly, I was number 4, and while I stand by my figures, I still think that the two here are the top by head and shoulders above the others. So I see no reason to redo it.
My input on it is, after 3 years of being at the council, I've never seen scores like that before, 0s and 4s and 2s or whatever, okay? I think it's clearly a misunderstanding of how to evaluate, okay? So I would believe that the council probably needs to get an education in that area, whether a new member comes on or you didn't have that class or whatever. Statistical process control has to do with averages, okay? And the number one thing, you look for a standard deviation. There were 9 vendors, 7 of them were out of the standard, where it should be. So it tells us that we should throw that number away. I'm kind of like the council, I'm not here to change it. I am all for awarding it, because I think the numbers say, to some degree, if you eliminate that evaluator, it tells you, okay, Florida or Kimberly Horn, either one, how you end up. There's still the contracting side of it, okay? We have to have a first and a second. So I think we should also just step to the procedure. But I don't think we can go forward this way anymore. I think we need to understand how to evaluate. If you have, bottom line, there's 4 categories that I think the city administrator went over. If you have those 4 categories, and one of those categories is 20 points, and you have 9 vendors, what should the worst person be? Should be a 9 maybe? That's the worst you can get, right? Is a 9. So I think we just need to get a little educated on the evaluating process that we use. With that said, do we have a motion to move forward?
I'll make a motion to move forward with the current conclusion of the score sheets, and to award it to North Florida Professional Services.
We got a motion
I'll second it.
and a second. Can we take a roll, please?
Mr. Fasagi?
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton?
Yes.
Mr. Cox?
Yes.
Ms. Logan?
Yes.
Mayor Moore?
Yes. Moving on to number 3, property lease, Mr. Mel.
Thanks, Your Honor. As you all know, this time of year, we are inundated with people from out of town visiting our fair community here. And rightfully so, we've got an awesome community that just takes your heart when you see that we're not filled with high rises and busyness. We have a slower change of pace here, and that's the way we are. But nonetheless, we have to provide parking for those who are visiting. We do have parking at the Canal Parkway provided by the St. Joe Company. We also have parking at Parker Park, but we did look back at the suggestion of one of our city council members to look back at the 2023 agreement that the city council had approved with Dr. Don Spillers. This is a parcel of property at 2600 Highway 98. It's a little over 2 acres, which is next to the canal, other side of Parker Park. Back in 2023, the council did approve the contract between the 2 parties, but the city staff never initiated the agreement because at the time Some of the property was hard to access because of the condition of the sand, shall we say, without some major upgrades. But now that we have a humongous pile of shells at the marina, we do have access to material that we could add to this property and crush and provide parking for people at that area. There is a walkover just a few feet from the Highway 98 entrance to this property. So that is convenient to get across the dunes to the beach, as well as a crosswalk that's lighted to help the safety aspect of people traversing Highway 98. The 2023 agreement was brought up, and Mr. Spillers had no reason to change much of anything in the 23 agreement, except that the 2023 agreement had an annual cost to the city of $10. Mr. Spillers would like $4,700 for a lease payment on an annual basis. Then that would simply cover his taxes for that particular piece of property. In other words, we're not leasing this or renting it at the market rates out there. So this is kind of like the least amount of money that I think we should be pleased to pay. At this point, we do not know how many parking spaces we can accommodate there. That will be done by our Public Works Department once we make some maintenance improvements there, which is cutting down some of the overgrown brush and that sort of thing, and apply the crushed shells. But at this time, the agreement is very similar to the previous one. And the only issue that came about from our city attorney was the termination clause, where it says that either party may terminate this lease for 30 days written notice to the other party. This doesn't seem like a very long notice, but nonetheless, should Mr. Spillers make an offer to sell the property, this is an out for him to make that particular decision. And also, if the city does not live up to the expectations of maintaining the property as we should, then that gives him an out to kind of claw back and take it back. So at this point, open for the public and the council to have their say.
Okay, based on the input, go ahead and open up to the public. Any public comment?
Good morning, Tim
Come
Underwood,
on up to the podium.
St. Francis Street. So this is a piece of property that I've spoke about with several past administrators as a potential for parking for Parker Park, with some thoughts on it. I believe the owner is asking quite a bit of money, in excess of $1 million or plus, for purchase of it. My opinion is it's a pretty high rental. I don't know what the improvement cost is going to be for the city, and then to have 30 days that we put, let's say, $50,000 into it or $100,000 into it, and then for it to be cut off. My recommendation would be to look at, you can lease it with a clause with this owner to purchase that property and then seek a state grant for the purchase of this property, which can be done. We've done it before with other properties. And then our investment wouldn't be lost, and we could work on the grant with a future purchase. That would you'd have to definitely modify this agreement and figure out what a fair price would be. But I just don't think it's reasonable for us to pay that kind of money and put this into it without maybe an annual. You could cancel annually, but to do 30 days just seems like quite a risk for us to spend that money.
Any other public comment? And close the public, move the table.
I think Tim's comments are good, but we don't know for sure that Dr. Spillers is even interested in selling the property. I would be concerned about the 30-day opt, and would it be unreasonable to offer, say, maybe a 90-day opt? Can we do something like that, Tim?
It's up to the council what you want, and whether it's 90 days or an annual
Okay.
termination. My concern was just similar to what you just heard. If you're gonna spend a good bit of money improving the property, and if you do that, and then you get notice 30 days later, then you're out of luck.
I agree with what Tim said fundamentally. I mean, owning the property would be ideal. And personally though, I don't think $400 a month in rent is that expensive and it's $4,700 a year. Yes, we're gonna have to invest money, but I do think it's a start, and maybe, I don't know how the council feels, but I love the idea of the city owning that property. Because as we continue, we improve Parker Park, having additional parking there for events that are out of tourist season would be great for everyone. And parking, even with the added parking we have now at Parker Park, I think it'd just be wonderful for the city to own that. So I would encourage us to maybe try to get an extension on the opt-out clause and start the negotiation for a fair purchase price, and then pursue a grant to do that.
So that's my question. Have we tried to negotiate with Dr. Spiller on any of these terms, or is this like his first offer, or our first, second, or third offer? I mean, how have the negotiations been?
Back and forth.
Good.
He's pretty adamant at the 30 days.
So he's unlikely.
Right. But he did say that at one time he had considered a donation to the city and take the tax write-off. That was discussed as well. But at this point, we were just talking about the lease, so that was a later discussion.
I think, and I don't know the man personally, but I do know people that do, and I think financially he is not in need of the funds from selling the property.
Right. Well, I love this idea. I love that property. I love the idea of the city taking it over for its uses and purposes. The $400 a month doesn't bother me. The 50 grand-ish estimate to just improve the property would be something that I would at least want to amortize over at a minimum a year or something. So I wonder if Dr. Spiller is adamant about 30 days out. I wonder if we could make a counter offer that we go ahead with the terms that that has been presented to us, with the addition of like a minimum 1 year. Like, can we have the property for $50,000 of improvements for a minimum of 1 year, and then after 1 year, start the 30-day rolling? I mean,
I'll go back into that also. I kind of agree with that. I think that it's good to have a 30-day opt-out on both parties in this case. But there is an investment that we're making that we've used that land before and we didn't make any investment. He just let us use it. My first concern is, how are we gonna force that traffic in there? If we're gonna have this parking lot, is it gonna be full, used?
Well, it'll only be used if we have a realistic sign that lets people know that, hey, there's beach parking right here.
and wide enough access to and from traffic in and out.
Well, and then there was an RV park there back in the day, so they had pulling trailers in and out, so it did work.
So that plan gets real important that we can force traffic into there and off the streets. If we can't do that, we haven't accomplished that.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing that I was concerned about. I agree with we are making an investment that we haven't made before when we used it. So if we are, is there a possibility we can lock in 1 year and then go 30 days thereafter? I think we should have that conversation with him. I know you said he was adamant about the 30 days, but
Well, Mayor, how does the rest of the council feel about pursuing Mr. Lindeman's idea of going back to him with an idea of city purchase And working on that as a, you know, give us some negotiating leverage in that, hey, you got a buyer here now, and let's work on grant funding, then once we can come to a number.
I agree with that, if we can force the traffic there.
Well, the only way I see us forcing traffic off of 98 and out of people's front yards is doing what the good lieutenant says. We've got to give him some more leverage and make parking illegally very painful in this town. So it's a twofold issue then.
So yes, I agree. If we can negotiate lease with an option to buy with the other, contract terms of minimum 1 year, 30, yeah, sure. Let's negotiate, right? It seems like Dr. Spiller wants to negotiate. He, like all negotiators, may not be telling us everything that he's willing to or not willing to do. He's mentioned he's adamant about 30 days. I get that. But yeah, who knows, right? How long has this property been either
He's owned it for quite a while.
officially on the selling block or unofficially, wink, wink, make me an offer, I'll sell it? Who knows? So maybe he'd be willing to consider a bird in the hand as opposed to two in the book with a willing city buyer. And plus, if we could get this stretched out over a year, right? We're coming up on budget season, so we would need to line item this as a potential line item for next year's budget anyway.
We'd have to add it to another purchase that we're looking at land right now, so keep that in mind also. We've already committed to looking at the property next door, so.
I also would like to see the city pursue buying this. We did offer to buy it years ago, and the price then was $1 million, and the city said, no thanks. And nothing really was done since then, and that's been a long time ago. It is ideal for parking because it really cannot be used, as he discovered, Dr. Spiller discovered, for a lot of other things. It was the old Islander RV park. Someone's initial plan, I believe it was his, when he purchased it, he wanted to put a restaurant and nightclub back there, and of course that wouldn't work. The entry is one of the big issues. If we can stabilize that entry well enough to support it, because the Islander only had 12 slots and it was not heavily trafficked. So if that entry can be stabilized to support this type of parking, then yes, it would be ideal. So I think the city should pursue getting a grant to purchase that. I think some tough negotiations should go on and see if we can maybe lower the price, because it's been on the market officially and unofficially for a very long time. We're talking over a decade. And in the meantime, I don't like the 30 days. I think that's awfully quick. I would love to see us expand that.
I think, several of us have mentioned, the mayor did guarantee us at least the first year.
Yeah.
If we're gonna invest this money, and then even maybe ask for a prorated, if he decided to, hey, I'm not gonna let you have it in year 2, well, then a prorated payback for the improvements we made to the property. It's, in today's world, 50 grand's not a lot of money, but it's still 50 grand,
All right, so just to settle this out the way I'm understanding it is, we're gonna go back to the table. We're not doing any voting on this. We're gonna go ahead and go back to the table with Mr. Stiller and talk to him about either a one-year guarantee with the 30 days thereafter. Talk to him a little bit about the investment, if we could recoup the investment, have those type of conversations, along with where is he at with the sale of the land and his interest. So we need to gather more information in those areas. Is that true?
Yes.
And would we also like to pursue the possibility of grant money to pay for it?
Well, we can give
price.
it a grant people, he
Yeah.
won't have anything to do with that, yeah, absolutely.
But that's an option.
Yeah, Yeah, we always go after the money, that's true. Okay, enough, input on that,
I think
move
so.
forward? Okay. Everybody good?
So we're just gonna table it for now.
Yes, sir. Table it with instruction for additional information to come back to the council. Okay, next thing on the agenda. There's gonna be a series of ordinances here, 3 of them. 886, 887, and 888, that kind of all fall in the same, they're all being generated because of the same subject, okay? So, they are, city attorney, that is, they'll both be, 2 of them be public, 1 will be quasi,
Yes, sir, they should be a public hearing, so when you open it to the public, just open a public hearing officially,
okay.
and then let the public comment, and then close the public hearing for each one. The only question I had, Tammy, just to confirm, you published in the News Herald? Okay.
So the last one will be quasi judicial.
That's correct.
Okay,
And that will require disclosure by the council members of anyone who has talked to the developer about this issue.
correct. Okay. All right, so we'll go ahead and get started, and we'll open up the first one, which is ordinance 886. First reading. Do we have a motion to read?
I'll make a motion to read ordinance 886 by title only.
I'll second.
A motion, a second. Take roll, please.
Ms. Logan,
Yes.
Mr. Cox,
Yes.
Mr. Fasagi,
Yeah.
Ms. Hamilton.
Yes.
Mayor Wolf.
Yes. When you're ready, go ahead, Tim.
Ordinance 866, an ordinance of the City of Mexico Beach, Florida, providing for the voluntary annexation of approximately 2.5 acres, being parcel identification number 04102-04-000, providing a legal description of the lands to be annexed, more specifically described and depicted in this ordinance as petitioned by the property owner pursuant to section 171.044 Florida statutes, providing for the redefining of the city boundaries to include said lands, making certain findings, repealing all ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date.
City Attorney, or did you have any comment on before we go to public?
Only comment I was gonna make is that Southwest Georgia Oil Company did honor their agreement with the city to pay $9,000 each of the past 3 years for payments in lieu of taxes. So their understanding all along was to annex after that period had finished, and so they are in compliance with that request.
With that said, we go ahead and open up the public. Any comment on that?
Or open a public hearing.
Open the public hearing. Any comment? Go ahead and close the public hearing. Any discussion at the table? We have a motion for ordinance 886.
No, it's first reading.
That's first
Oh,
reading.
sorry. First reading. And close that and move on to ordinance 887. Amending the comprehensive plan, future land use map. Does anybody have any comment on it before we get started?
Only comment I'll make is that the reason this is a two-step process is because we have the future land use map as well as a regular zoning map. So this first ordinance does adjust the future land use map to include this new parcel of property into the city.
Okay. Do you have a motion to read 887?
I'll make a motion that we make a first reading of ordinance 887 by title only.
I'll second.
My motion is second. Take a roll, please.
Ms. Logan,
Yes.
Mr. Cox,
Yes.
Mr. Fasagi,
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton?
Yes.
Mayor Wolf?
Yes.
Ordinance 887. An ordinance of the City of Mexico Beach, Florida, amending the comprehensive plan future land use map, redesignating a parcel of property consisting of approximately 2.5 acres, being parcel identification number 04102-040-000 from Bay County mixed land use to Mexico Beach general commercial, providing for scrivener's errors and liberal construction, repealing all ordinances in conflict herewith, and providing an effective date.
Open the public hearing. Any comment? Okay, we'll close the public hearing. Open discussion at the table. There's no discussion. We have a motion to read, or excuse me, we don't need a motion. Very good. So we'll close it. We'll move to,
Before you do this one, Mayor, just if the council can make any disclosure, have any of you had a conversation with the applicant?
This is, the
888.
Sunstop.
Sunstop.
That's correct.
No, I don't.
Thank you,
You
sir.
sure? Okay, we close that. Do we have a motion to read 888?
I'll make a motion to read ordinance 888 by title only.
I'll second.
No motion, second, take the roll, please.
Ms. Logan?
Yes.
Mr. Cox?
Yes.
Mr. Fasagi?
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton?
Yes.
Mayor Wolf?
Yes.
Ordinance 888. An ordinance of the City of Mexico Beach, Florida, amending the zoning map, designating a parcel of property consisting of approximately 2.5 acres, being parcel identification number 04102-040-000 as Mexico Beach General Commercial, providing for scrivener's errors and liberal construction, repealing all ordinances in conflict herewith, and providing an effective date.
You need to do the quasi with the,
You would open a public hearing for the quasi judicial hearing. Any people that want to speak would have to be sworn in.
right. Okay, go over the quasi judicial, hearing, public hearing. Any comments? Anybody need to be sworn in? No comments, nobody needs to be sworn in. Close the public. Any discussion at the table? Not? We have, oh, we don't need a motion on that, we're good. No discussion? Okay. Update, comprehensive emergency, management plan. Mr. Sandy?
Morning, Council. This is a update that needs to be done every three to 4 years on our emergency readiness plan. Literally, the changes from last one to this one are purely grammatical. There's no change in hierarchy, who does what, where, why, and when. This is really just an update that needs a signature so that when we put it into things like FROC and so on and so forth, it shows that it has been updated recently and has gone through the necessary steps in front of council and so on and so forth. So there is no change to how we do things as far as our emergency comprehensive plan will be going forward as it was in the past. It is just basically an updated plan.
During the update, did you make any changes?
Nothing significant, seriously nothing significant. We didn't add anything or take away anything of any significance whatsoever. It was a word here or a word there that made no changes other than it clarified it, and that was it. But there is no significant change from then till
We'll
now.
go ahead and open the public, see if any public question or comments on the comprehensive emergency plan for the chief. If not, we'll close that, move to the table. Any discussion?
I I'm just curious, because I'm reading this for the first time. Is this like a standard format that's consistent with other neighboring
Exactly.
communities?
To all intents and purposes, exactly how other municipalities will work, and then we work in conjunction with the county, obviously through their EOC, but we have, we set up our own EOC here. The mayor, the city administrator, and myself are basically the three people that are, at that top of that triangle, and then everybody else fits in down below.
And what does the actual emergency command center look like? Is it a trailer that the county brings in, or?
No, for here, so it depends entirely on the severity of what it is that's either happened, be it, like the tornadoes, so obviously you don't set up prior to a tornado. If it's basically a hurricane up to a category 3, we will set up in City Hall. And in the conference room, anything high category 3 and above, we all leave and we come back in afterwards, because obviously you can't be certain that building will still stand, and we will then basically set it up wherever we can after that. But obviously after Hurricane Michael, we were able to use the City Hall, and we would hope going forward that once something happens in the 25 acres, which is another day's work, that we will have a building over there with the new civic centre that will basically be built strong enough to withstand almost anything.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Do we have a motion to
Mayor,
approve this?
just one thing I'd point out, Sandy, on page 3, you've got some bookmark errors, so if you can fix those.
If you're talking about the table of contents, I noticed
Yes.
that.
Yeah, okay, so we can do that, sure.
Yeah.
Sorry, thank you.
Okay, with those corrections, do we have any, a motion to move forward?
I make a motion, we approve the revised copy of the comprehensive emergency management plan for 2026.
With the additional change.
With the additional change, marked up changes, corrections for the table of contents.
Okay.
I'll second.
Got a motion, a second?
Ms. Logan?
Yes.
Mr. Cox?
Yes.
Mr. Kasaki?
Yes?
Ms. Hamilton?
Yes.
Mayor Wolf?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chief. Next thing on the agenda is memorial policy for review, and that's it, Mr. Mel.
Thanks, Your Honor. We initiated a memorial policy last year, almost a year ago at this time, to kind of give the public an opportunity to memorialize and donate items to the public and to the city. The policy is a few pages long, but sometimes when a policy is enacted, there's always some questions on how to maybe make it a little better. In this particular case, I asked for the council to give me feedback on some of their opinions on this policy. And the feedback that I have gotten from the city council members so far is that those memorialized need to be residents or have made a significant contribution to the community for over 10 years, and no dedication to pets. Budget the cost for the purchase, installation, and maintenance. The policy should be for a fixed term of the agreement based on the useful life of the donated item. And that the agreement should be 5, 10, 15, 20 years, but 10 years was suggested for the benches from date of installation, and the donor may renew at the current replacement rate. So those are the issues that came up, and so I'd like to throw it out to the public and the council to give me additional comments.
Just to add what Mel said, these have to do with the benches that you see, that there are 2 new benches that are put up. I think one was for Mr. Jenkins, and then another one was put up for Dozier, a pet. And that's right in front of Centennial Bank. Those benches cost money to build. We've taken up places of how many we can do. I mean, I think we have to revisit this ordinance and decide. I think designate how many we're gonna put in the city, when they can be approved, if we're gonna pay for that as a city, or is that gonna be paid for by the person that's requesting it? How long would it last? I mean, all those questions that Mel just went through. Any public comment on that? We got to close the public and move to the table. Any comments?
I'm not trying to be argumentative, but I think this is a solution to a problem that doesn't exist. I mean, let's use Dozer as an example. If we have a resident who wants to donate $1 million gold encrusted bench to his pet, and that money's going into the city coffers, is that a problem? I just don't see that. I'm completely ambivalent about this. I'll follow the council's direction. I'm not trying to roadblock this or stop this effort. I just don't see this.
I don't think it's being addressed as a problem. I think it's being addressed as how many will we have to the city? If we have 15, 20 people that want to do it, that might be fine. If we have 100 people that want to do it, that may be a problem.
I get if there's 100 benches, that can be a problem, but to Eric's point, right now, it's not an issue. Further to that, I would ask, because the city had installed benches in certain locations just arbitrarily. We could offer the option, rather than installing new benches, is you could convert those to the more substantial bench to facilitate some of this, or I think I had mentioned to the city administrator during a conversation on this topic that rather than lining Highway 98, we do have parks around town. We could use specific sites, and if we wanted to put a bench or two in Parker and under the palms and some of these parks. But to Eric's point, currently I don't think we have a problem, and I mentioned we could also make it not be benches and say you could install a tree in one of our parks and make it a meaningful tree, a 10 to 15 foot tall tree, and memorialize those. And I got that idea straight out here at City Hall and over here at the church, where people had little plaques on some of the palm trees. So there's some other ideas, but I currently don't really think this is a problem.
I would like to see the city seriously consider returning to the memorial trees that we had, all the palms that we had lining 98. Almost every tree had a memorial plaque on it, and they were destroyed in the hurricane. And there have been a number of people asking council since then, were we ever going to replace those trees and allow memorial plaques? I think that would be something, if we're considering memorial whatevers, to consider in this. And as we regrow our trees, as we replant our trees, come up with a program where people can donate those and put their little plaques. Plaques were all the same. They were small, they were branded into the tree. And I think that would strike a good note with the community, because so many people had done that and wanted to return to it. So I know this is looking at benches, and I don't see a problem with people donating to pets. I do like the idea that it's made for residents or people who've made significant contributions to the community, but I would like to see us go more toward more trees than benches, although benches are great if they're scattered around. We don't want just like parked cars, a line of benches along 98. But
Well, we put benches on 98.
Yeah,
I think
and
Steve's
then-
point, maybe that's a good number. If that number is 8 or 10 or 12, whatever that number is, that's what we have to offer. So if we have them all full and done.
Then you have the option of doing trees, maybe.
Right.
yeah,
And I've been a serious advocate of going forward, we're gonna get the amphitheater done, is that gives people an option. If the city's planning to beautify the park like we should, just open that up straight away and say, hey, a palm tree costs the city let's just say if we have a contractor do it, $500-600 to have a 10-foot tall palm put in, will you donate that? If you want to donate that, memorialize it for the beautification of Parker Park, we could do that. Then it saves the city the money toward that beautification project.
If we're gonna have a policy, then I totally support adding the option of trees to benches. Absolutely. 'Cause
And Mayor, to your point, I think the limiting factor is however many benches we have on 98 now is like, we don't need to install more. You know, there's enough opportunity if you want to donate whatever it is. I don't even know what the cost for those benches are, but it's my understanding that, like Bill Jenkins, the city didn't pay for that.
Correct.
So if the person that's donating the money for it, if they want to remove the city bench and put the nice big bench with a backrest and a plaque, I'm all for it.
Or benches in the parks, a few, would not go overboard, but a few benches up under the Palms Park or whatever might be really nice, you know, so if they want to do that. But I think the way that's really going to strike a chord with the community is if we allow trees to be memorialized.
Yes.
Because that's what we've had before, and people, almost every single palm, if not every palm, along 98 was dedicated to someone.
Is it one dedication, one palm?
One dedication, one palm,
Uh,
one per tree.
Well,
And I think it cost $100, and they put up the plaque in memorial or whatever it was, yeah. So,
speaking of palms, I don't know if we need to drill down this rabbit hole now, but I heard the P&Z loud and clear last couple of meetings that we want more than palms, because palms don't
Yes.
provide shade. So there's a whole litany and there's a whole
Yes.
list of approved
Trees.
and some of them are better than others. They may take 10 years to grow significant tree cover, but tree cover is what we want back, so.
Well, and to that point, our LDR does have a list of
Yeah.
quote approved trees. And I'm just talking arbitrarily here, but let's just say I wanted to donate a tree in memory of my parents maybe. And I wanted to spend $1,000 for a big cypress or something that's on that approved list.
If
I
it's on the approved
If
list,
it's
you
on
should
the
do it.
list,
yes.
and those trees, they're hardy, they withstand wind, they're perfect for this area.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think we've already got the framework for that.
Yes, and I'm not advocating just palms, I'm using the line of palms that we had
Before the storm.
before the storm.
Right.
And saying, let's go back to some type of program where people can dedicate a tree from the approved list
Right.
and do it that way. I think that would be a good way to go.
Well, there is a section in the current policy that discusses trees and plantings. Of course, we have to spell plantings a little better than what it is on this thing, but nonetheless, we can make sure that a plaque will be eligible to go on the trees at the request of the donor. But something that we do have in this policy that I want to bring to your attention is that, you know, once the donation is made, it becomes the property of the city. So if the city itself decides that, let's say, the trees get damaged or the benches get washed away in the next storm, we are under no obligation at city expense to return that. But the donor can then make an additional donation, you know, once things are sorted out.
If we go forward with this policy, which I'm not opposed to doing, I guess, do we want to, Mel, just since we spoke about it, add something about tree, the list of trees must conform to the LDR or something, because that's under rewrite right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's implied that the LDR would hold some sway over this, but if you want to allude to it, we can certainly make it more clear.
How does we've done two of these. Okay, one was a donation, and the other, is that a city cost?
No,
Was that a donation?
it was a donation
To cover the cost.
to cover the cost.
I
Who
think-
built it?
The first bench was done, by Mr. Jenkins' family.
Yeah.
And so at no cost to the city whatsoever. The second bench was done by the city at a cost of approximately $300.
And then reimbursed by the donor.
Got that donor.
And we got 2 other applications for benches at this particular time. I've been holding off approval until which time we have this discussion.
Let's just take a bite of the elephant here first. Do we want to continue from doing the one for Mr. Dozier, the pets? Do we want to do pets, or do we want to do residents with 10 years?
I'm gonna go back to my brother Eric over there. If someone wants to make a donation in memory of a pet, and there again, I've got a dog, and I'll confess, it's pretty special to me, but I'm not saying I would need a bench in her name. But if a person wants to do that, whether it's a bench or a tree, if we've got space for a bench, we'll say yes. If the bench locations become full, then, I think we just say your only option is a tree.
I mean, I happen to know the donor of the pet, and he's
I do as well.
he's somebody who just doesn't want to put his name out there. He's a longtime partial resident of the city, and he never wants to make it about him. He just wants to do something nice for the city. And yeah, Dozier just passed away, so he's taking this as an opportunity. The next guy may be somebody who wants to get his or her name out all over town and memorialize themselves across multiple times. And so again, if we need to accommodate both types of people that want to do something nice for the city but remain quiet or anonymous, and then others that want to spread their name across town. I don't, if it doesn't cost the city, I just don't see why the city council needs to be involved.
I do like the idea of the trees, and I think planting the trees like in both of our parks would be very significant because we are a tree city.
Yes.
And then we are looking for more shade provision. So I really like that idea of putting the plaques on trees, new trees, not just, the palm trees that are on the highway, that's already existing, but if we encourage more of the tree growth in our parks, which is greatly needed, that serves a double purpose.
I think limiting the benches is a good idea too. I mean, I don't think we need to add any more on 98. And we can let city staff decide how much room we have in our parks, key locations for benches. And once those are full, you're basically got your option is a tree.
If we have 15 of those, they could either be pets or residents. Is that what you're
Exactly.
saying?
Yes.
I think
Is
so.
that good? Okay, so that part's done.
One more thing on the
Let's
benches.
identify the number of benches we currently have in the city.
And also the condition of the benches, like Sam, you probably see that a lot as our city workers are out there. I mean, how many more years do you think those benches have? Our climate is really hard on everything, so, they could possibly be replaced in the future with a memorial or honorable bench. So that would cut down on the number of benches in the city.
So with a request of the 2 benches that we have at particular times, should I ask if they wouldn't mind those benches going to replace one of the old benches that we've got? As
Exactly.
opposed to a new location?
Yes,
Because how old are those benches now? We put them up about 3 or 4 years ago?
if not longer.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's get the number. Let's see how many are in the city. If there's 20 of them, tell us there's 20, and that's going to be our limit on that side. Then after that, it goes to trees.
And then identify how many we want in parks and where, so that we'll know, okay, you've got a choice of, there's 5 locations in all parks. If you want to switch to that, it would be good to have an idea. We can only put this many in each park. So, add that to it.
And then because if I read that correctly, the donated memorial benches, once they need to be replaced, the donor is gonna have to fund replacing it if they want it to stay there.
Yeah.
So then there's no obligation on the city. So I just think, to your point, Larry, let's figure out how many we have and how many locations in our parks where we potentially could allow them, and then that's it. And then the rest is gonna be trees. because we've been woefully slow at getting our little town reforested since the hurricane, you know.
Okay, so Mel, City Administrator, what we're looking to do is we're looking to get the number of benches currently within the city and identify those as areas that are available for memorials. And at that time, we'll change them. When we run out of those, or as an option, if a person doesn't want a bench versus a tree, we need to identify 3 or 4 areas within the city that we could plant trees and allow memorials on them. Anything else?
And now the key part with the tree is, and I'm just speaking because it's money, right? If Lisa's got a family member that donates $1,000 to put a tree in, now it becomes the responsibility of the city to keep that tree alive. So that's something else to think about. You know, we're gonna have to provide proper irrigation until the trees are established.
And that is back to her point about we need to have need to have a set number of places in the town where the tree donations are allowed and possible, because Sam's team's gonna have to water it for 6 months.
Or we're gonna have to, and it's like in the case of Parker Park, I think as we go into budget season, we need to just count on, we're gonna have to put some irrigation in there if we want that park to look right. So, anyway.
And also, is there a desire to add some language that the tree should refer to the LDC's list of trees?
Yes.
Or just demand canopy?
And the size, frankly, the size should be the same that Greg has to enforce when he goes out. You know, Mr. Builder, you've got to have 6, at least 10 or 12 feet tall, whatever that standard is. So if you're gonna donate a tree, it can't be one of these that's in a 3-gallon pot. It's gotta be one that's a meaningful size.
Well, so again, that's what they're cleaning up right now in the LDR. So he's got one source. He goes to Appendix A and say, is it on the list, is it not?
So we're gonna identify the type of tree and size and the number. Okay. Anything else you need?
Well, I do have one, just want to clarify. Whenever I travel to other places and I see memorial to somebody or something, that's usually because that person had meant something to the community. So what you're saying is that criteria shouldn't be considered. It can be memorial to anyone for any purpose. So when someone comes to Mexico Beach and it's John Smith from God knows where, they're gonna say, I wonder how he meant to the community. The answer is not at all.
Well, I would answer that by simply saying, I think NBARA does a great job with that. If you want to put a memorial wreath out there to someone that they look at the printout of all the memorial wreaths. I don't know some of those people, but to me, it's not important. I mean, I think it's just the significance of, hey, someone thought enough of this person to memorialize them.
I see
we're reviewing the numbers and we're reviewing the applications, so we have some control already.
Yeah.
Right.
So I get where you're going, Mel, I do, but I just think it's overly restrictive when we don't, by saying you have to be a prominent resident, or you have to have been here for 10 years. I don't see that the restriction is necessary.
So the limit is set by the numbers that we have available. And the decision making made by the staff,
Exactly.
and ultimately the city administrator.
Well, and back to the tree thing, I don't think we could plant trees for the next 10 years every day. I don't think we'd plant enough trees to run out of spaces to put them.
Okay, we're just not gonna have a council meeting every time we have to have a memorial.
Right.
Which we don't want,
Yeah.
correct?
Okay.
You know, the only time that this particular policy says that it's the final authority of the council is if there's any memorials and upright monuments type things, like a cemetery, what have you. You know, something like that would be a little more
Right.
in that realm.
All right, we beat that to death, no pun intended. Are we good with instruction?
I think we've got enough instruction, thank you.
So
Everybody
Mel,
good?
the two applicants that you have, what are they for, benches?
Benches, both like the 6th and 7th Street area. But I can request that they replace one
Okay.
or
We good? Mr. Durham requests. So, no?
This one is tough, Your Honor. The Duran family, who does some amazing things with their store in Port St. Joe, had committed to put a grocery store in Mexico Beach. Of course, not to the size that they would like, but you know, it is based upon the size of the available land that they have purchased. But nonetheless, as time has gone on since their commitment to build said facility, the costs have gone up considerably. And so they made a request for some financial incentives to kind of help with them bringing that store to the community, which really does fill a void that we now have. Normally, something like this is something that would be done ahead of building. In other words, if someone doesn't get the incentives and they don't build type scenario. But that's not the case here. So the request that was given by the Duran family was the reimbursement of the permitting fees of $38,470.02. The way that works is all the permitting fees goes to EPCI for their services. The city does get 20% of those fees on a monthly basis when the fees are paid. So in this case, the city could control $7,694. So that's something for the council to consider. The other item is the 50% rebate of city property taxes for 10 years and freeze the assessed value for 10 years on the two parcels. Well, the city has no authority to adjust the assessed value of the property unless it's in a special district. So that's something that we can't do, but it is very common that some cities may reimburse a business for their portion of any property taxes. So I did a quick calculation because we all know that the $6.5 million investment that the Duran family has made will not be the assessed value of that property upon completion. So if you do just a quick analysis of, you know, what percent of actual purchase prices is actually assessed, I'm no assessor, I have no schooling and that sort of thing, but if you look at other examples, it's common for 55% roughly. So the $6.5 million investment is they're probably going to be assessed in the $3 million range. That's just a guess. Could be more, could be less, but nonetheless, we just use that as a figure to start out here. So if you look at the total property tax bill, and in particular the city portion of the property taxes, you know, that is what they would want the 50% reimbursement over 10 years. So in 2027, the city tax would be right at $5,000 in 28, 19, in 29, 20, goes up to 22, 4, 27, et cetera. Over a 10-year period, the amount of money that we would give the Duran family, if you consider the 10 years, what they would pay to the city is $258,000. If we then pay 50%, that's $129,000 over that 10-year period, and $193 if you gave them 75%. Then there's the 5-year. The total taxes paid to the city is $91,000. And of course, you can do the math and what that figure is. If we do it 3 years, it's $43,000. And of course, 50% 75 is $21,32. So that is kind of the amount that the city has to play with. So at this point, it's probably appropriate to have discussion.
When when I read through this, for me, it was just kind of an update. Back in January, Mr. Durham had the dedication, ground dedication. He threw a couple shovels of dirt out there and got started. After that, he grabbed me and he said, "I'd like to talk to you." I said, "Okay." So we had a conversation. And that was the first time he's ever said to me that he was looking for any type of rebate or anything on taxes. I came back to the city administrator and said, you know, look at what we have available and what we can do. And I told Mr. Durham that he needed to do the same and come back to us with a plan. What do we think? Well, lo and behold, we just got a letter, and that's what he's asking for 10 years, 50%. I personally would not agree with that. And I know that that type of negotiation should be done prior to development order. That's the way I feel. But I also know that we've all been impacted by cost in the last year or so. So whatever he planned on spending back 2 years ago and then finally decided to go forward, things have changed. So I don't think his request is unreasonable to get some type of rebate. I think it's unreasonable for 10 years. And so I'm kind of open to the council of a way to move forward here. We could just play hardball and say, should have been brought up during the development and go from there. I also don't want him cutting any corners and building the grocery store. So if we can assist the same way we did with the gas station on a 2, 3, 4, 5 year type of situation, I think it'd be beneficial.
Well, when I read the letter, I was surprised at the request. And my first thought was, why wasn't this discussed at the very beginning? For it to suddenly come up when the building's a third or halfway done, I found very odd. I also think that we need to consider that in 6 months after the November election, we may be looking at a different scenario on property taxes. And are we willing to give away any property taxes that we might very well need ourselves? I also found that 10 years to me was much, much too long to consider. And the fact that he wants the city to go to the county and request that the county also cut the taxes, that's not our place to do. If he wants county taxes cut, he should go to the county. So I have a problem with the whole thing, and I am the first to say I'm thrilled that we're getting a new grocery store. I'm just delighted that he took the chance and did it. But at the same time, he's a businessman of great experience, and to say that the costs are suddenly more than he expected, I have a problem with that, because there's enough has been going on that this should have been built into the plan. So I have a real problem with this request, and I'm not sure that I would even want to consider giving any tax relief on this. We have also, as a city, never given any of our personal Mexico Beach business people any tax breaks. I think the only time that we did was this one with Sunstop, and that's not anything like this. So I just have a problem with the whole thing.
Any other comments?
Yeah.
Did you want citizen comments? Did we get citizen comments?
We did, because we're open to discussion.
Oh, okay, okay, gotcha. I agree a lot with what Lisa said, and I think the timing is wrong as well. They should have been presented up front if he was, had all these concerns about taxes and all that. And what's the domino effect of that? If we agree to this on this one project, what's to stop other things that are coming down the line from asking the same thing. And I do have concerns about the individual property taxes and how that's gonna limit what's coming into the city in the future.
So, I'm in loose agreement. Let me tell you where I stand on this. So, I'm not a fan of reimbursing fees that have already been paid for this calendar year. I mean, that money is not only been budgeted, it's been spent, the $38,000. So those fees, in my opinion, are in our rearview mirror, and we've already spent most of that money. I'm very concerned about how this city, as well as the other 416 cities in Florida, are going to be getting property tax relief from a ballot amendment in November, which I expect to pass. Now, crunching the numbers, Mexico Beach only has 15% of our properties roughly are homesteaded, so we don't stand to lose a lot of property tax money, in my opinion, if 85% of our property taxes are largely going to remain unchanged. With that said, that is next year's Florida legislature's problem. This year's problem was to get the amendment on the ballot for the voters to vote in November. And then the state's got to figure out how they're going to reimburse lost revenues to the local municipalities in 2027. So that's the next governor and next year's problem. All right, so with respect to this, I agree that we need to do right. If there's any way possible, we need to do right for Mr. Duran and everything he's done for this community, not only with this particular property, but also other things he's done for this Gulf Coast region. I don't believe this is necessarily the precedent that we do or don't want to set. I think the precedent was set with the gas station 3 years ago, when we set up something of a loose agreement. I'd be interested in looking at something like the agreement we did for the gas station for Mr. Duran, because I don't think we can do what he wants us to do, which is write a letter to the county and ask for half off. I don't think the county's going to listen.
Well, just on that, Eric, I think that's illegal, so we can't do anything with Bay County side right there. What we're really looking at is we have to nail it down. We're nailing it down to what taxes were paid.
Correct.
Which is about 8,000, 4,000 a month,
$4,700 a year right now.
A year.
That's just based on the
Right, that evaluation.
valuation, right?
And so I get that's also what he's asking for is to do a reimbursement, and that's something that
50% on what we
Yeah.
currently get, yeah.
But that's different than the situation we set up at the gas station. So
Correct.
I don't like the specific terms of this request, but I'm not opposed to the request in general. I think if we could find a way to yes in this council, I think it would be worth the effort. But I don't want it to be all that different than the precedent that's already been set, which is what we did with the gas station.
Okay, I'm on board with the precedent we set, and the precedent we set with them is a Southwest Georgia company, right? Mr. Duran, as to your point, he's done tons for this region. What I don't want to happen is, yes, Ms. Logan, he is a businessman, but businessmen get caught with their shorts in a crack too. And what I don't want us to happen is end up with a grocery store that we can't afford to shop in, because as a businessman, he's going to recoup his money somewhere. So back to what you said, I want us to find a way to say yes to a modified agreement. And Mel, say those numbers again based on your estimated assessed value. What would the annual taxes be to the city? And all this is just hypothetical until we get some real world numbers.
You know, once it's built out, it's probably, because even once it's built out, there's usually roughly 10% increase in value each year. So if you go to those numbers, it's about $20,000 to $30-some thousand a year that the city would get in taxes.
Okay, and what I'm gonna say here, because we've had, as a council during budget and P&Z and other times in my history of serving for the city, commercial properties place much lower burden on cities than residential properties. So I don't have a problem with a modified agreement up to a 5-year term even. And I don't even have a problem with the 50%, but not going beyond 5 years. Because the last thing I want for me and you and the visitors to our town to have a store where the prices are 25% higher than they are at the Piggly Wiggly in Port St. Joe. And that could very well happen.
Yeah, one of the things too, I mean, we all sit here and talk around the table, we know the way the procedure should go.
Exactly.
But had it went that way, what would have been our vote?
Okay, and Mayor, just to continue what I just said, had Mr. Duran not made the commitment to invest on that property, what would our tax revenue be on that vacant property? $4,700 a year. And his development of that property, what has his development of that property actually cost the city? Do we have a number? Is it anything? Or is all that geotechnical and Garrett's guys had to go out there and do a little bit of work, but I mean, he's the one footing the bill. You know, and once that store is open, what's the burden gonna be to the city? He's gonna be paying city water and sewer every month. So, I think we need to be realistic. I think, yes, it should have been done on the front side, but we owe him equal to and greater consideration than we gave to the Sunstop. And that's my 2 cents.
The request is 50% over 10 years. I hear the table, that's not even close to what I think we would negotiate if
No.
in that situation. Would a 3-year agreement work?
I'd like to know, Tim, do you have any experience in other cities
Yeah,
that may have
I mean,
similar requests?
essentially, you have to be looking at a public purpose. And traditionally, the public purpose would, and one of the public purposes is economic development, economic incentives. Those are done before the entity gets here to do something. So the question, and you all, I don't remember any economic incentives in your ordinances. So, I mean, this is kind of just somewhat done at the table. You may want to look at an economic incentive ordinance going forward. But for purposes of this, if you're determining an economic incentive, then number one, you need an agreement for that economic incentive, because you need to have things like opening requirements, employee requirements, continued business requirements, and other milestones, other criteria that would justify the public purpose, the economic incentive that you're talking about. And if he did not meet those things, then he's got to give you the money back. You know, a few years ago, the county gave an economic incentive to somebody, as I recall, that was supposed to go out to the airport, and they never did the development. So, you know, one of the things that I would suggest to you all is you have a clawback, for lack of a better word, that if they don't meet the criteria, the incentives that you set out, that they have to give the money back. The final thing I will say is that you have to look at the long-term precedent that you're setting. And I heard mentioned, well, existing businesses haven't been given an incentive other than perhaps the Sunstop, and in fact, the Sunstop, as I understand it, paid.
All right, we're getting to call our meeting to order. We're gonna go ahead and go forward without the internet. Point broadband, just so you know, is out throughout the city, so.
That's not good.
Do it now. Mr. Tim, did you have something?
Just real quick. So one thing I think you might want to consider is how much the costs have gone up and how to determine that. Because the current overall inflation rate is about 2% higher than predicted. It's currently 3.8%. but fuel costs have been the major driver, so probably delivery of things. So I don't know how to figure that to determine what a fair number is. And then the last thing, your point about the half-cent sales tax, I'm not sure if that's based on population, what the formula is they use for it, but it may not, we know what the number is, and so we can figure that out, how that works.
Thank you. Any other comments from citizens?
Just one other comment, Mr. Mayor. And you talked about the assessed, if you did move forward with anything, you know, you would want to make sure that that building is up, CO'd, and get it on the books.
At what time it starts?
At what time? Because, you know, right now you say the land's at this, we're figuring this, we don't know what the county, you know, generally they come in at between 70 and 80% of value is generally what the state requires. So I would just, you know, keep that if y'all decide to move any forward, let this thing get on the books and see what the number is. So, yeah.
Okay. All right, based on that and all the conversation, is there a motion to move forward with having the attorney and the city attorney look at some numbers to bring back to us?
Yeah, I think that's a good choice. Do we need to make a motion?
Okay, we're just making a motion to move forward with the execution of more information versus writing a contract.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we move forward with negotiating an agreement with the Durham family for tax abatement.
Through,
Not
a big
Tax reimbursement.
And that is on a 3-year program, is that what we're saying?
I'm just gonna, my motion is indeterminate timeframe.
And I think obviously, Jason made a great point. We need to make sure that none of this takes effect until the building is CO'd and occupied and the
Right.
business is up and running.
I think we'll determine that the next time we
Yeah.
get back. So I make a motion to proceed.
Okay. A motion to second?
and so that will be with Tim and Mel in that discussion?
No, the mayor said this is before an agreement.
Okay,
Right, before,
okay.
I'll say.
we're gonna get all the information. The motion and second, take roll please.
Okay, Ms. Logan,
Yes.
Mr. Fasagi,
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton,
Yes,
Mr. Cox,
Yes.
Mayor Wade.
Yes. Okay. Okay, just for citizens' comments, we're gonna move to, also know that we're back up on the internet too, so if you come to the podium, be good.
All right, Tim Linderman again. I handed out 4 pages to you guys, and it's discussion I want to have about traffic calming on Highway 98 specifically. So I think it's pretty well recognized that traffic speeds on 98 through the city can be pretty high. What I have noticed, and I actually talked to Bay County and Marty about this a little bit the other day, is that the traffic crosswalks, a lot of cars are not stopping, even though when the signal's on, they're just driving right through. And I don't know if it's because they don't think they have to stop, they're not seeing the light because they're right there, or what's going on. But here's some proposals or some things I would recommend we think about. Understanding that we don't own 98, it belongs to the state, so we'd have to work through our advocates with the state probably. One I would recommend is the CDC using Councilman Cox. You've got a county commissioner there, you have a voice for the state, and then we've hired someone to talk to a representative. So first one is chicane, which is just changing the lane somehow that causes people to slow down. So you're just, instead of it being straight through town, you just put a slight curve in it, and I know that's going to be difficult to do in most places here, but it does slow traffic down. The next picture is called Road Diet, and what it is you just narrow the lane down using something in the center of the road to restrict it. You don't restrict it beyond, less than what's safe in the normal flow. Or you put cones like on the side. Maybe you pick areas where the supposed bike lane is very narrow. You could put poles up right there at the edge, and that tends to slow people down. The one that I think would work best here initially is slide 3, and that's for the actual crosswalks. The first picture is rumble strips. So before the crosswalk, you put rumble strips, and that kind of gets people's attention, and maybe they'll have more awareness. Maybe you move those lights, not right at the crosswalk, but the light comes on further down the street, or there's another light. I don't know. You put some kind of hash mark ahead of the crosswalk so they're alerted. And then again, the use of poles across the crosswalk. So you got the crosswalk in the center of the highway, there's a plastic pole, and then on the sides there's plastic poles. Now, I don't recommend this, but some small cities are actually putting little flags in a bucket at the side of the road. Can I have one more minute, please?
Okay, go ahead and finish it out.
They wave a flag, cross with it, and then put it on the side of the road where they got it. All right, the last slide. This is dealing with the difficulty of a truck with a boat getting out of all those big convex mirrors across from the entrance, so that people could maybe see some down the ridge. Because when you pull up front to the 98 from the boat ramp and you're looking east, you can't see very far over that bridge. And so maybe a mirror across the street would help them see traffic coming to some extent. You might want to do the same thing for people coming out of Canal Street on the other side, so they could also pull out safely. And lastly, these kinds of things I think need to be thought about and included in our strategic planning. So when they come in to do this work, we give them some goals. And this goal would be to make 98 safer for crossing, to slow down the traffic. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I just make a comment on this, Mayor?
If we want to have a discussion, sure.
Yeah, I just, in general, I am totally 100% supportive of us studying traffic improvements to not just 98, but 15th Street as well. And they may be some of these options that Mr. Lindeman has provided. They may be something different. I'm actually a huge fan of traffic circles, like legitimate traffic circles. They've been scientifically proven through decades and multiple research studies to reduce traffic collisions as well as fatalities. Traffic circles are a huge capital investment, so we would have to plan for that many years in the future. But I support us talking to the state and seeing what affordable, gradual, year-by-year improvements we may be able to put on both 98 and 50th Street.
I don't think there's anybody at this table that disagrees with there has to be some type of control over speed. I want to be the city that when they travel through, they're saying, oh, you're going through Mexico Beach, slow down, it's supposed to be 35, they'll take you. We're not, well, I don't think we're known as that city. I wouldn't mind being known as that city.
Actually, I had a conversation with a Bay County commissioner a couple of weeks ago, and he's originally from Port St. Joe, and he did nothing but complain about the speed limits in Mexico Beach and how we should just change them, and we should. I was like, you can forget, buddy. We like it, and we're never changing.
I got one answer for him, Back Beach Road.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, well, I think some of these suggestions, there's a possibility that I think those are rumble strips before a crosswalk. Might be something we should talk to DOT about. Who knows?
I was very surprised when they put the original crosswalks on 98. We had one at 8th Street. Toucans was active at that time. And I looked over the weekend and I guess I just, in my head, was seeing a crosswalk there when it wasn't. There's not one there at 8th Street. Now, I'm not a fan of the crosswalks. They've never worked, in my opinion. But I do know in the past that crosswalk did help people crossing at 8th Street.
Yeah.
However, I can remember in 2006 when those crosswalks were first put in, sitting with Brad Hall, who was the chief of police, across from Toucans with DOT engineers. And those DOT people were flabbergasted, absolutely stunned that nobody crossing 98 in that whole section that we could see were using the crosswalks. They didn't understand why people didn't come and use the crosswalks. And the chief of police said, this is how it is. They're not going to do it. But I do know that we're going to have a problem when Toucans reopens, bigger than we've got now, because the parking lots are on the other side of the street at this point, the majority of the parking lots. So we have to do something. I love the idea of making Mexico Beach known as the place you're going to get a speeding ticket. I've been an advocate of that for years, and it's always been fought against. But I love that idea. So that would make some people slow down. We do have to do something, but the crosswalks themselves are not going to be, I don't think, the answer, because
20 years later.
20
people still
years
don't
and
use
we have people who don't use the crosswalks. And the crosswalks are in the wrong places in half the town anyway, so we're gonna have to come up with something.
Well, that in between the disrespect of the driver stopping.
Well, and,
People
you know,
cross.
we talk about speed, placing speed tables at the crosswalk, that would fix our speeding problem.
It could.
Or it could, the alignment should also be getting a lot of,
And maybe we don't start with speed tables, but we start with rumble strips. Those are surprisingly effective. I will defend the drivers for a minute. I mean, unless it's at night, you can't see those flashing lights. You just can't. Some people are the locals got somewhere to be. They want to get from point A to point B, and the lights come on their peripheral vision. It's easy to miss. The tourists, they're on vacation. They're looking at the beach. They're not watching the crosswalks. The lights are bright LED lights and they're blinking. But I'm just here to say, unless it's at night, unless you're focused on the road, which you should be, but many people aren't. Those lights are hard to see.
I can't remember the city I was in, but in addition to the illuminated flashing lights, they had the LEDs in the roadway
Yeah.
that, I mean,
Those could help.
Light up.
would really get your attention.
Well, obviously, we need to get some DOT involved. That's not my opinion on DOT. But we have to get them involved in some of these solutions, and it probably pretty quick. I think I love this traffic calming, you know. So there are some solutions there. Let's let the city administrator see if we can get a hold of some people and see if it's something we might want to try in one different area.
Is there any way that we can try again to get somebody in DOT to come and talk with us about what we see as the problem and what we think might help, versus DOT simply showing up one day and installing things and doing this and that without any discussion with the people who live with this every single day?
My experience is the latter. That's what they're gonna do, but yes, we can reach out and see if we can get a hold of somebody else. Absolutely.
Can we as a council go to the office in Chipley and say, you need to listen to us? I mean, I understand that it's a long, long shot and they have not been cooperative over the years. I know that, but you would think at some point they would.
We would hope. Let's make a reach, ask the city administrator to make a reach to DOT based on traffic calming factors, and then we have some suggestions we'd like to talk to them about and see if we can work with somebody.
And
Based off of this Slip.
I'm gonna have an update in a minute here on the Bay County Transportation Planning Office that I was appointed to. I'm just gonna say here that if there's long-term improvements that we as a city want to work towards, we have an avenue to add that to things like 5-year plans and 15-year plans.
All right, this is comments?
Yeah, just a couple things. I did not read the lease, obviously I don't sit there anymore, on the land next to Parker Park, y'all's lease.
Yeah.
I mean, one good thing would be to make sure, and it may be in there, that y'all have the first right of refusal if he decides to.
Oh,
Sell the
for
property.
purchase.
And then the only other thing, when I was here, we had talked, and I know budget season's coming up, but about a generator at City Hall. And I just would like to put that back in, to go ahead, hurricane season's coming. Maybe put that on the front burner if anybody's got any money left in the coffers.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyway, that's it,
That one,
thank
yeah.
you.
Okay, thank you, Dick. Any other comment?
Yes.
Come on.
My name is Dennis Gant. It's G-A-N-T-T. I live at 314 Bailey Lane. I've owned that property for 7 years. It has been my legal address for over 3. I was born in Marianna, Florida, and also resided in Bay County twice in my very early years. I have been coming to Mexico Beach since 1977. My family owned 2 residences in Beacon Hill during the 90s. I have fished every Embarra tournament since 2004. Came in second in the Open Division last year. My partner and I have rebuilt and built, my partner David Fletcher back here, numerous houses since Hurricane Michael. And I'll read a little list. So Josh Bloodworth, 117 North 36th Street, Andy Poe, 113 North 36th. Jason and Johnny Knights downstairs on their duplex at 41st. Blake Careways on 313 Bailey Lane. Gary Smith on 311 Bailey Lane. I think, Mel, you were here when we did his original pool house. And I'm also building one for him at 106A and B on 37th Street now. Michael Subers, 209 Arkansas. Vic and Amy Vickers, 104 St. Christopher. Harold Coffin, Unit A, B, and C on 2801 Highway 98. Bob Floyd, Unit D, 2801. Keith Careways, West End, condo I rebuilt. Gail and Doug Childers, 104 South 30th Street. Brian Carroll, which is in Sugar Sands, technically not Mexico Beach. Ed Meadows, 606 Highway 98. Ricky Knowles, 108 North 38th Street. Michael Lodge, 201 Virginia. Tony Johnson, 114 Canal Parkway. Joe Rogers, 132 Miramar. Keith and Lisa Newton remodel at 112 Canal Parkway. Jay Laycock, 134 Miramar. And Blake Anderson at 216 Kim Cove. I would challenge the members of this council and even the citizens of the community to look at those names and properties for what they contribute to the tax rolls in our town. I also challenge the member of the city council that was referring to me at a gathering on Charles's Corner to pick a name off that list now, and we will call them and ask them if I'm a carpetbagger. And I am only down here taking advantage of people. And I've even had a conversation with one of those attendees about building a house on a lot that he owns. I promise you, you're not going to run me out of town, nor are you just going to take my property. And all of this in regards to a damaged walk path bridge that was removed from my property by the city. I have yet to speak to any of you directly about the issue of the bridge, except for the mayor that I found he was going on vacation said he would get back with me. He did not. But you did send a letter saying that you were gonna take my property without compensation. I hope our city can do better than this. If not, we are in for a troubled future.
Thank you. Any other citizens' comments?
Dave Bonard, Mexico Beach. So I just want to remind everybody here on this table that one of the primary responsibilities of government is protecting the rights of its citizens. Do you all agree with that? You agree with that? Okay, so Steve Cox here, I'm going to name him out.
Yeah, you don't need to do that, just address the council, please.
Okay, to the council, to call somebody a carpetbagger, a citizen, and then to say, we're gonna take that property. I'm calling for Steve Cox, and I'm gonna call him out to resign his position on the city council. Because it's ridiculous.
All right, do you have any other, do you want to?
That's it.
You sure?
Yep.
Mayor, I'd like to address both these gentlemen. What I said at a private gathering.
I was invited to that gathering, by the way.
Okay, well,
Go ahead.
Mr. Gant, that's fine. What, the context of that term, I don't know that the city, I don't know what plans the city has for that. What I would like to see is some agreement made. Because
just suggestions.
But let me finish, please, sir. I'm a firm believer in property rights, but I also understand liability. The same liability about the bridge exists on that private road. So, as a council person, I'm not for taking anyone's property. I think anyone ought to be compensated for it, but that's for anyone that lives on that road to say, A, the city has not maintained that right of way and has not maintained the road. I mean, that's not accurate either.
Prove it.
Come on, man, I've lived over there. They mow the
All
right
right,
there.
all right, that's good. All right, let's move on to the next, we're gonna make some comments and we're gonna talk about Belleville a little bit during my comments at the end here, if you don't mind. We can hold on till then. Any other citizens' comments? I don't wanna shut you guys down, I mean, you got your time, you have something to say, come on up to the podium. I wanna make sure you're available.
Let me speak on that one thing really quick. Obviously, the Bailey Lane situation has come up in the bridge, and it was on private property. He had every right to call the city, have it removed. I do think it was at the end of I was not here exactly when this went down, but it is in the city's best interest and the homeowners for the city, and y'all are gonna talk about it, but to try to come up with a solution for this and discussing it, because when this went down, it was pretty instant that, from what I know, the city got a letter saying that it's on private property, and the city went out and just took it down, which maybe that was his request. But there doesn't seem like there's been any, and maybe I've missed something, I'm not accusing or anything, but any, like the man said, any discussion of like, is there a way forward to get this worked out with both parties, the city and the homeowners? And I'd like to see it, and hopefully y'all are gonna talk about it. It probably needs to be on the agenda sooner or later. See if we can get it worked out. It was a great thing for people to use. I mean, I think the city, the streets, I mean, I'm not speaking for the owners, I haven't spoke to any of them, but the city should own that. You should have the streets, but you need to work with the people. And it just doesn't seem like anything's been discussed or it was shut down. And apparently, I guess now was a letter sent, you know? Just try to work it out. I mean, we're a small town. So, anyway.
Thank you. Any other comments? We go ahead and move, close the citizens' comments, go to staff comments. City administrator,
I have none, Your Honor.
city attorney,
Yes, sir.
any department heads?
All good.
Can I, real quick, just real quickly, just want to say thank you very much to everybody who helped with the planning of the CEOs on Wednesday. Ms. Hamilton came out and helped, Tammy. Public Works, again, stepped up, were huge. We had Quinn Jenkins that showed up, Jane Dunn from the city, or from Citizen, and David Juretz, is that correct? Is that close? Okay. And then also just another huge shout out to Brandon Pipkin with Gulf Coast Fencing and Restoration for donating the 1,500 COs that we planted. So it was a great day, and I could name off everybody in Public Works, but I might forget somebody, so I don't want to. But yeah, they were awesome again as usual. So just thank you to everybody who helped.
Good deal.
And something that came up in discussion that day too with Brandon from the company was we might want to think about doing a sand fence next to the dunes the way we have in the past. And Brandon seems to think that there was possibly some grant money for that through FWC and what was the other one? Oh, BP oil spill money, that there was still money left through that. So that would be a way of preserving those sand dunes so you can kind of already see them kind of losing some ground.
Yeah.
So even though we're planting the seals, but that's something to think about and something that we've had in the
And
past.
correct me if I'm wrong, but if we strategically place some of those sand fences in the right configuration, we can limit the tourists that don't like to pay attention to signs and they just walk over the dunes.
That would
We
be,
can kind of hold them off.
be another obstacle.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go ahead and let Ms. Linda go ahead and comment on events.
Okay.
You wanna add, yeah.
Many people have already received this letter about special events and we're asking for donations for the fireworks. They are like $42,000 this year for that 20-minute show. It's gonna be very spectacular, especially at the end, so it's gonna be worth it, but you know, it's just more because of the tariffs and everything else. But we are hearing that there is a scam circulating trying to get our money for that. In the letter, it does say we accept checks only. We're not doing Venmo, PayPal, or Zelle. So if you get any information regarding that, that's going to be part of that scam. And it does say in the letter that you received that it's a P.O. Box 631, and it should go to Port St. Joe, Florida, 32456, or you can use the 7 that is more direct to a post office box. I did call the post office this morning, and they said 6 or 7 will work. So if anybody has sent money in the 6, that's okay. It's going to still work out. But this is a big event for us this year, and it's more expensive because we want to do it really, really right because of the 250th birthday of our country. So it's costing a little bit more, but it's going to be well worth it.
Okay, thank you. Any other council comments?
I just have one. It's brief. So thanks to the council for appointing me to the Bay County Transportation Planning Office, which is turns out it's a federally and state mandated government agency to oversee transportation planning at the county level. The short version is that every time we pay a gallon of gas, 17 cents goes to the federal government to repair the roads and build new roads. 17 cents goes to the state of Florida to do the same. And so these statutory county planning boards are put in place so that the money coming back from Washington and from Tallahassee is appropriately funneled out to roads across the county in an equitable manner. So I want to make a formal presentation to the council probably at the next meeting because I'm still being onboarded, and I'm also trying to grab a couple of pieces of material so that I can present. But just a real quick update on what I've been able to find out so far about the multi-use path. So the multi-use path is going to extend throughout Bay County. It's going to come through from Park Ridge, Callaway. It's eventually going to come through Kendall Air Force Base, and Mexico Beach is expected. In fact, we are required. We cannot get out of this. At some point, the multi-use path is coming. We cannot stop it. However, one thing we can do is we can negotiate with the Transportation Planning Board to modify it, to move it to other locations. But as of today, the multi-use path is planned for the north side of 98 in the right-of-way and the east side of 15th Street in the right-of-way. So that's on the books. It's years away, but it's probably within 5 to 15 years away. So less than 5, but not as far as 15. So I'll have more details to present at our next meeting. But I wanted to at least confirm some rumors that the path is coming, and we can maybe get it moved around the city if there was a back beach road, which I don't think there's plans to, but that back beach road is going to be a while. Anyways, that's a little bit of rumor control for now.
Thank you.
More to come later.
Any council? Didn't close council. Mayor comments. I told you that we were going to talk about Bailey. Yeah, excuse me, but it's almost laughable to think that we haven't talked about Bailey within this council and within this city. It's been a topic of conversation from day one. And there's been considerations taken also. The letter was sent out. I'm hard pressed to believe we wanted to take over anybody's land, but we wanted to continue to maintain it for sure. So obviously that didn't go over well. So I talked to the city administrator and we both agreed that we need to have some type of workshop put together. And that's what I'm gonna ask the council, where we'll send out a letter this week asking the owners and the residents to attend and come prepared to discuss their plan or the way they think this should go. Stop all the rumors. Let's do what Mr. David said. Let's get together and figure out what's the best path to move forward on the path or not. So I want to ask the council, is this a date? We'll send a letter out, so it'll go out this week. So would the week of the 22nd work for anybody?
No.
Not for me.
You mean that soon, huh?
We're not gonna get the letter out till the end of this week, so they'll receive it probably on Monday, Tuesday, the 15th or 16th.
Are we thinking a 5 o'clock workshop?
Yeah. Don't wanna do a morning one, wanna do something at 5 o'clock.
Possibly the 26th after 5 o'clock, yeah.
26th is a Friday.
That's the only day I'm free that week.
Okay. Yeah, 26 works for me.
I'm good. I'm good with the 26th.
I'm not, because my company will still be here.
Okay.
Okay.
So then we're into July.
Well, the weekend of June 29th. Yeah.
How about that Monday, the 29th?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Works for me.
I can do
Works for
Monday
me.
the 29th.
Okay.
Monday the 29th, 5 o'clock.
Mayor, is that something you want me to attend?
Yes, sir. Letters go out this week, and hopefully we can get everybody here to start this conversation, this workshop. Hopefully the workshops are productive and everybody gets their input, and we kind of find out what's going on so we can present it to the council and see if it's feasible to move forward. That's all we're looking for. We have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
I
See ya.
I said what I said because